the 9:30 mark.
Okay.
On
Okay, so
Good
we are
morning,
live.
Facebook. This is Jim Blythe, and you're watching Veterans Impact Show. I've got a great couple here with me. We're going to have a tremendous discussion about relationships, marriage, and what makes it work. So please stay with us, join us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share this. Here we go in just a second with Veterans Impact Show. Welcome to the Veterans Impact Show, where we continue the mission of highlighting veterans and service organizations who continue to serve our community and our nation. We're brought to you by Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Don't worry, retire happy. Welcome aboard. Hey, what a great day. I've got to tell you, I've got some new great friends that Diane and I have really enjoyed. And the crux, the most important thing about what they do is they have a ministry about marital relationships. But before we get started with Cedric and Michelle and I introduce them, I've got a couple of public service announcements that I need to do. First of all, the PACT Act, there is a deadline of August the 9th to get the retroactive benefits to the PACT Act. You want to know what the PACT Act is? Go to va.gov/PACT, P-A-C-T, or you can call 800 my VA 411. You need to know about this because this is the biggest expansion of the VA's benefits, and everybody needs to know about it. There's huge sign-up deals going on. Our Congressman Keith Self in Collin County is sponsoring one. The VA are sponsoring them. We're going to be having on the 29th, we're going to have a benefits expert from VA on, which is next weekend. But this is important. This is for you as veterans or members of a veterans family. So I'm Jim Blythe, and I'm telling you, get signed up, be a part of it. Now, also, I want to thank DBTV Network that puts us on Amazon Fire and Roku, and the AUN Network that carries us throughout Northern California. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please join us on Facebook. If you've got questions, Diane can take your questions and send them to me. We're doing great. Also, I want you to know my wife, Diane, is running the social media, and she's the producer, and the engineer is Nathaniel Smith with Ascend Podcasting. And I work for Fairway, who's one of the sponsors. My NMLS number is 311-548, and our corporate is 2289. Now, I would really like to introduce a great couple. And not only that, he's a Navy veteran.
Yes, I am.
Cedric White and Michelle White. Beautiful people. I am so glad to have you on board. We only met about 2 weeks ago at an event, and I walked up to you and I was like, wow. What you had to say was great. So, Cedric, tell everybody a little bit about you. You are U.S. Navy. You were a gunner's mate, if I remember correct.
Yes.
What's the difference between that and a missile fire control technician?
Well, I actually handled the missiles and the missile launchers. The fire controlmen, they got to shoot them. So I did the real
You did
work.
the hard work.
Yeah, they
right?
pushed buttons, but I maintained and ensured that when they pushed the button, something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were on cruisers.
I was on a the USS Arkansas CGN-41 nuclear powered cruiser.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
Man, that must have been. I tell you what, I bet you guys even had an ice cream machine on the boat.
We actually did.
Yeah.
It was actually, it was straight when I got out of boot camp, went to A school, C school. It was fresh out of Newport News shipyard. It was brand new. Had a captain that was bucking for advancement. So it was nuclear powered. So we could go everywhere all the time. His bragging rights was that we could stay underway for 25 years and never stop.
That would have been a little difficult.
Well, he with the supply ships, we got pretty close.
Well, Cedric, you talk about making a mess out of a marriage. You know, as we joked about, the military, if they wanted you to be married, they would have issued you a wife.
Yes.
And marriage is so terribly difficult in the military, without a doubt.
Yes.
So let's also introduce your beautiful wife, because she has been such a tremendous part. Michelle, welcome aboard.
Thank you so much for having us.
And you start off, you were married to someone in the military, so you know more than anybody about how tough it is for the spouse to be in a military marriage.
Most definitely. I was married for 12 years to a gentleman who was not in the Navy, but he was in the Air Force. And so earlier on in our relationship, we had trouble, but there was no services to provide help for couples in that area. When you're in trouble, there was no place to go. So that's why I'm here. That's why we do what we do, to be able to give resources and tools for couples that are in the military.
Now, both of you are ordained ministers.
Exactly.
And you have a 501c3. So we're going to first talk about Healing Hearts Ministries. How
Healing
did that
Thine
come
Hearts.
about?
Healing Thine Hearts came from actually both of our experiences. I met Michelle at a time when I was in the midst of my family breaking up. The most traumatic thing that's ever to this date happened in my life. And that was the breaking up of my family. I old fashioned believe in family staying together. Plus, I was trying to avoid what had seemed to be the standard in my family: grandparents, parents, siblings. And so I didn't want to be divorced. And so I got married early, got married quickly, got the young lady pregnant. And it's like, hey, this is the right thing to do, right? You marry, you handle up your business. But I didn't know her. We didn't know one another. And we tried to make it work, but we did not have the wherewithal. And so I'm coming through that, met Michelle. She was trying to force me to do some things that I didn't want to do. And that was get some help.
Yeah.
I was anti-counsel, anti-coach. I didn't want any help. Well, eventually, after 2 years, she helped me to do that. And then after 2 more years, we dated, got married, and that's where this began, because we saw the need.
You having lunch with us said she really led the way.
Yes.
Yes.
And I find that to be absolutely inspirational and so important. Then you have written a book, The 4 T's of the Heart. I don't know if they can see that. Diane will hold it up where it can be seen. That's it. I go away and the book comes up. No
There
bad,
it
no bad
is.
deal.
There it is.
Okay, I am studying this book. I'm not just reading it, I'm studying it. And it's impressive. And I want to say, where can people get that book? Is it on Amazon or?
It was, but we found that when we were on Amazon, we were working for Amazon and not ourselves.
Okay.
So they can just call our, go to our website.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the best way.
And your website is
www.hearts, so HHEARTS.org, or Healing Thine Hearts, the full name of the ministry. But I like H Hearts because it's concise. So HHearts.org.
Now, what do you guys do? A lot of counseling.
Mm-hmm.
You do workshops.
Yes.
Tell us about what you do. And then I want to segue into, you have the 4 T's. So
Mm-hmm.
you are doing education, collaboration, and then you're trying to mobilize people. So let's talk about that and what you do. And then if somebody says, I'm all in, I need to go to that workshop, how can they connect?
Okay. So from an educational perspective, what we've discovered, and from just in ministry, I'm a pastor, so I can say this, I've came to discover that just because there's good preaching does not mean it solves all the problems. And so I was in the pulpit, people were in the pews, and we're having the same problems. And so from an educational perspective, it's like, okay, let's take the Bible and make it more applicable on the day-to-day when it comes to relationship. God is about relationship. That's how he started, right? And so from the educational to the collaborational, we offer our services to other organizations that want to bring us in. We say, you put the cheeks in the seats, we'll bring the meat. That's
Michelle, you married a sailor.
I know I did. He always says that I got rid of that.
I say she got rid of that Air Force loser and got with the Navy cruiser.
Yeah.
But no offense to the Air Force guys.
Yeah. When you guys learn how to fly, let me know in the Air Force.
Yeah.
And I have made so many Air Force guys so mad. And then they look at me and I go, yeah, my pilots were landing on an aircraft carrier at night in a rainstorm.
Right.
And let me tell you, that is an amazing thing to watch. It's also very frightening. I think one of the things that is so amazing is you develop this concept, or you develop this learning stages, and you call it the 4 T's.
Yes.
Cedric. And reading your book, I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. And I'm going to tell you something. The book is not just about marital relationships.
Right.
It's about how you can develop relationships with your children, how you can develop relationships in the workplace,
Yes.
and with people, because the biggest problem that we run into is bad communication.
Right.
Not lack of communication,
Right.
bad communication.
Exactly.
And I watched that destroy a company that I was in. So I want to highly, highly recommend this. Now, when you do the workshops, you also do one-on-one marriage counseling. Is that true?
Yes.
Or that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm just learning. I'm right in the middle of all of your stuff here. So tell us a little bit about your workshop and how that goes and what you do.
You want to share?
Well, go ahead. Yes, we have a life core therapy class certification class that we do coming up on August the 29th through the September the 1st. And they can go out, if anyone's interested in this course, they can go out on our website at healingthinehearts.org. It's a 3.5-day certification. It helps the individual who has a heart to help other people. We want to train people in a way that they can go below the surface of the people's beliefs, because people do what they do because they believe what they believe. We help them to identify the false belief systems. So
yeah, and that's the certification, because we have to duplicate ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We can't be everywhere at the same time. So we need more people who have a heart to help others. So we teach them that. And then from the perspective of just people who want to come in and need help, they need some information, they need some education. We do workshops. And that's where we work with other organizations. We work with organizations called Marriage Management. They send us all over the country, and they will they will acquire the attendees, and we come in and we teach 3 days sometimes, and they'll bring the families in, so people handle the children. We teach the workshop with the adults, and we teach them about how to have a relationship, how to get to know one another. You have people that have been married 20, 30, some even 40 years that do not know one another.
Cedric, in my business, I see what we call silver divorce, because I work with seniors over the age of 62, and I see silver divorce quite a bit.
Yes.
And a lot of this stuff goes back to you never knew that person that you got married.
Exactly. People do what we call the mechanics of a relationship, right? We get married, we have children, we have good jobs, we save money, we go on vacations, we do all of these things. We've even known couples that would go on vacation together, didn't like each other, would call us while they're on vacation, the ladies out at the beach, the guys in doing work on the hotel room, things along that nature. It's like that's sad. And you've got over 25, 30 years of marriage together. That's not the way marriage is designed. That's not what you're supposed to be enjoying that by that time. 20 years. Oh, we should have it just flowing. That's not to say that you don't have conflict. That's not to say that you don't have life's issues, but by that time, hopefully you've learned to handle that. What we find is that's not the case. That is not the case.
Don't you think a lot of it is because of the person's background, upbringing, belief systems?
Exactly.
Yes.
And the two, there may have been a lot of physical attraction,
yes,
but there's no commonality.
Right.
That would be almost like me marrying somebody from a different country, and I don't speak their language and they don't speak my language.
Right.
And I can learn the language, but I can't understand the colloquialisms and the culture.
The culture, the colloquialisms, the background, the history, their family, all of those things come into play. We are a makeup of our history.
Exactly.
We are, our parents and all of those kind of things. So I need to know that before I get into a deeply immense relationship with a person. Before I commit myself, I need to know, can I be committed to that? Can I deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly? because it all comes with all of us, right? But we have to know that.
You know, we
So-
go to school for everything else, but we don't go to school on how to have a successful relationship. And I think that is what we do as far as when we're working with couples and individuals on marital or relationship, because it doesn't have to be a relationship between a husband and a wife. It could be with siblings or
Any
any
relationship.
relationship.
Yeah.
So we have this saying, people do what they do because they believe what they believe. We help them to identify the false belief system.
Wow. I got to tell you, this is important. And this goes to the heart of so many of the problems that I saw when I went into the Navy and when I went overseas and deployed. And we've talked about this, how guys would take off their wedding ring and
Right.
put it in the locker.
Right.
And man alive, when we hit Japan, when we hit the Philippines, when we hit Singapore, when we hit, any Thailand,
Yeah.
any of these places, all hell would break
Right.
loose. The other thing that I saw many times is after deployment, our carrier would pull into the dock at Alameda, and you look down and you go, "Oh, there's such and such's wife, and she's different."
Yes.
She is different.
A lot of things change.
Yes.
And that's on both sides, right? You go away and you learn to live apart, which is the problem. Part of the teaching that we do is about commitment, right? Commitment says that I act, I think, I talk, I respond as if you are right there with me the full time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I never make a decision without the fact of considering how it's going to affect you. That's what commitment is. But if I can take my ring off, that means, okay, I just laid my relationship, my marriage, my commitment, my covenant, I just put that in the locker for 6-7 months, right? And so my whole mindset has changed. Now imagine if both people are doing that. It's hard enough because I've learned to operate
Yes.
without you for a long time, whether I'm the spouse at home with the kids or whatever, or if I'm the guy that's deployed. But we've learned to live apart. But we never kept that level of commitment where I'm always thinking about how this is going to affect my mate, how this is going to affect my family. I'm living independently.
I got to tell you, these are important things because I think there are so many veterans who are suffering so deeply
Yes.
because of messed up marriages, messed up relationships. And I'll tell you something else. There are a lot of people that are living messed up lives because they saw messed up marriages in their own family.
Yes.
I think one of the most important things, I like to listen to Joyce Myers and watch Joyce Myers. And she talks about her childhood and her absolutely horrific upbringing.
Right.
We got more out like that out there than we know about.
Exactly.
And so what you're doing is you're teaching us to change. You're teaching us to go back and find these things and create that commonality, which is the best thing for us. We talk about suicide prevention. Man, this is it. All right, we're going to be right back. Veterans Impact Show. For you, stay with us. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. And thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. Hey, this is Jim Blythe. I'm having a ball. I want to introduce you to two really great ministers and new friends, Cedric and Michelle White.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, when I started reading Cedric's book, I was amazed in some of the things that you were bringing out, as well as the story. One of the things is you told a story in your book about Dale. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that is a real typical story.
Right. Well, Dale was a guy, and of course the names have been changed to protect the guilty. But Dale was a guy who I had chatted with and dear friend. However, in talking about relationships, Dale was a person who said he didn't need to know a person. He didn't need to spend a lot of time getting to know this person. All he needed to do was allow the Spirit to tell him about that person, and they should know, because they should know and I should know. And if we love the Lord, we can get together. Well, the sad part is I know a lot of people who love the Lord and got together, but they got together for the wrong reason. And unfortunately, I saw Dale go through relationship after relationship after relationship, the same thing, because he jumped in too deeply, too quickly. And that we see that a lot. And now with the onset of all of the social media sites, with all of the onset of all of the dating sites, and I have nothing against dating sites as long as you still follow the same process. You still have to go back to old school knowledge of getting to know a person. And that's what we see that's missing today.
Guilty. Been there, done that. And the thing that is I hurt some people unintentionally.
Yes.
Right.
Because I didn't really know them and they didn't really know me.
Right.
And we were both, I will tell you, in your book, you talk about this authors of the David Jessel and more, and they're talking about the brain sex, and they're talking about the difference between men and women.
Right.
And how men, they look at body parts, that's what you're quoting.
Right.
And they get turned on.
Yeah.
Women are more into relationships.
Exactly.
But a good manipulator can play a game.
Oh, yeah.
Using all of that. And so if you really don't know that person, all of a sudden you're in a marriage with a commitment. Maybe you even got children. And Cedric, that other person over there is about as wrong for you as you trying to ride a bucking bull.
Yes.
I mean, it's a frightening thing. And manipulation. Also, hurting people hurt people. And I'm gonna give a statistic, because I had talked with a friend of mine when I was dating a lot. I called a friend of mine who was a psychologist, and I said, I have met all of these people, and my God, they just start telling me about their life, and it's frightening.
Right.
And she looked at me, and this friend of mine's wife, who is a psychologist, and she said, Jim, 3 out of 4 women in the United States have been abused physically, mentally, intellectually, emotionally, to the point that Child Protective Services should have been called by age 14.
Right.
And I'm going, what?
Yes.
And hurting people hurt people.
Exactly.
And again, I go back to Joyce Meyer.
Right.
It took Dave Meyer quite a bit, as well as Joyce Meyer quite a bit. And they didn't have somebody like you.
Exactly. That's why we do what we do, because first of all, we didn't have someone to guide us along, right? A lot of this was OJT, right? And then secondly, there's still people who adhere to the old mindset. She's cute, he's pretty, he's fun, so let's just get together. We have a good time together. Military, we prepare for battle in a time of peace. We do war games. We prepare so that
you're constantly training.
Constantly. So that when the problems arrive, we know what to do. You don't have to go and try to figure it out right then. We try to use the exact same mindset in dealing with relationships. You need to prepare for battle in a time of peace. Whether I'm in a relationship or getting ready to go into a relationship, looking for a relationship, I need to have some things lined out. I need to be prepared. We even tell women, shut up.
Oh, yes. Oh my
literally,
God.
literally. Now we say it a little bit nicer than that, but be quiet. Don't tell everything, because there are wolves in sheep's clothing.
Oh,
tell too many,
awaiting to hear, and they will just vomit everything that they've been through. So what have you just done? You've just given this other person everything they need to know to be the chameleon, right? And like you say, and be the wrong person. But guess what? I'll be that long enough for me to get what I want, and I move on. Hurting people.
And I want to say this, because there's an identity crisis. So if I don't know who I am, I'm just looking for what I believe and I think that I want. I really don't know what I want. So our behavior is to share what I've been through, because we're looking for someone to save us from all the dysfunction that we've gone through in the past. So it's easier for that individual to share that, because I'm wanting something, but I'm wanting something quickly. And through my journey, I have to say this, in my journey, because I was making all the decisions about my life, because I had these 5 little pitiful goals that I would graduate high school early, go to college, have my modeling career, travel the world, and marry my knight in shining armor. That was my basic foundation of what I thought a happy life would be. So when I did most all those things, when I married my knight in shining armor, quotations, he was in the military. So I'm like, oh, I can travel the world. So that was my belief. It was my belief, but it was setting me up for things that would not take me on the journey that I thought here, instead of looking at my heart and really asking the Lord, what do you want from what do you have for me? And thank God, many years later, I'm with my knight in shining armor.
I got to tell you, you got Sir Lancelot and then some. And I do believe that you got Maid Marian and then some, or Maid Michelle. Maybe we can do it. Guys, we're going to continue this conversation, and it's about relationships and having a good marriage. What if you got a great marriage, but you want to have a better marriage?
Yes.
But also you want to have a great relationship at work, with your children, with other people. I'm reading Cedric's book. I am so impressed, and I can see, Michelle, all through this book that you helped him write. I got to tell you, this is important. So we're going to be right back after these words from all of our partners. We're very thankful for you to join us on YouTube, subscribe to us. Thank you so much for all you do to be a part of this. And we're going to talk to you more about the PACT Act. So when we come back, this is the Veterans Impact. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. And thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. I've got a great conversation going with Michelle and Cedric White, ministers. They teach a phenomenal course because I'm learning about it. And Diane and I are going to go through it. We've got the most perfect marriage in the world.
All right.
Okay, but let me tell you something. We both went through unmitigated, terrible circumstances in the past. And I think we both have come to learn that relationship and communication. And so if you want to be good, then more training, just like we learned in the Navy. If you want to be good, learn how to use your tools.
Yes.
And I think your courses, even if you got a 30-year marriage that's doing great, and we've got a 12-year marriage, I want to do better. Now, let me go and relate this, Cedric, to the business world.
Yes.
How many times, and I got to tell you, far too many, I was hired to run a company, and the chairman of the board and I got along just great right off the bat. Only problem was there were underlying problems that I didn't know about,
Right,
that were really serious.
right.
And I never knew, and therefore I was not capable of the communication necessary to really. And so what happened is the communication ended up destroying the company.
Right.
Excuse me. What we're talking about is communication. What we're talking about is education. And I think that is amazingly important. This is what you're teaching.
Right. Can I say, in reference to any relationship, when we talk about blended families, a lot of people get together, right? They're divorced or a single mom, and hey, we meet and we like each other, and we vibe together. We get along great. We are simpatico, right? Right. We are. But then you have to add in the children, and you also have to add in the fact that there is what we like people to say, there are outside influences that will affect the inside your relationship, right? We call them, a lot of people don't know, when I marry you and you have an ex, then I have a step husband. Like, wait a minute, how does that happen? Yeah, I have a step husband that affects our relationship. I have a step husband, or you have a step wife, that will actually affect what goes on in our home. Right. And a lot of times people don't think about that, right? That a person totally outside of your relationship can have their mother. Imagine this: a person's mother gets sick, your ex's mom gets sick. They were going to keep the kids for you while you and your current wife or current husband go on vacation. Well, her mom or his mom gets sick, And now they can't keep the kids. Well, guess what? Now your vacation just got affected, just maybe got canceled. And now somebody's mad because somebody you don't even know changed your entire plans. And it happens like that. We have to take all of those things into consideration before we just say, oh, let's just jump into this thing. We've seen too many situations where people do not, the 4 steps, people do not take the time to get to know one another.
Talk about those 4 steps. Is that and the 4 T's? Talk about that. Define it for people so they can know what you're talking about.
Would love to. Thank you. It came literally. This came to me from the Bible, right? When
Proverbs. I'm going to ask you. Did you get a lot of it out of Proverbs?
The initial layout came literally from Genesis.
Okay.
When God decided that He was going to create the heaven and the earth. He was going to create all of the firmament and separate the day from the night and create all of the swimming and the creeping things and the plants. He was taking the time to prepare for a relationship. And a lot of people don't see it like that. He was getting everything he needed to get in order before he brought man on the scene. He was preparing for a relationship. So then once he brought man on the scene, then they started to have conversation. So now let's spend time and let's talk. What people don't understand is that time and talk are the parents of the truth. Time and time. The more time I spend with you, the more we talk, the more I'm going to learn the truth. Whether you're telling the truth or a lie, it's going to show up, right? And anything that you go to court and they tell you, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right? So even a half truth is a whole lie, is what we tell people. So I need to know the truth. And so understanding that when God walked with Adam and Eve, He was giving them truth. He spent time with them. They came to understand each other. What we say is your relationship is in the knowing. When I know you, then we have a better relationship. I know the truth about you. Here's what happened. When the serpent came in, they only spent a little time talking to him, right? And what he brought in was not truth. So they didn't spend the time. They didn't talk enough to learn the truth about what he was saying. They trusted him immediately, which is a problem most people have. They jump right to trust. You're cute. You're fine. You're funny. We have a good time together, but I don't know you. The relationship is in the knowing. And so when God gave me those 4 steps out of His plan, right? Time, talk, truth. Once I know the truth about you, then I get to make the decision. Truth is the pivotal point in a relationship. When I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, then I have to make the decision as to how much and whether or not I'm going to trust you to move further. And that's with any relationship. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could be a job. It could be a neighbor. It could be a friend. It could be a person at church. It could be anybody. But any relationship, I need to take time and talk so I get to know you. Then I know the truth about you. Now, how much can I trust you? How far can we go in a relationship?
Don't you think part of it also is experience? And I'm going to give you a good example. I told Diane about what had happened to me in the past, but I also told her about my military experience. Well, we went to San Diego for a reunion of my A4 squadron. Those guys, I hadn't seen them in 50 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she had a chance to hear the stories from their side. So I got to tell you, I'm thinking everything I said to her is now being confirmed by a third party.
That's right. That's right.
Because that was a very formative time in my life.
Right.
And then she got to know my ex-wife, that we're best friends. We never should have been married, but we're best friends.
Right.
And we maintain that friendship.
Right.
And Diane is friends with her. And the other people that were in my life, Diane has gotten to find out. And therefore, from an experiential standpoint, she can filter what I've said and go, okay, this is whatever, and here's the truth.
Here's the truth.
And you got to experience, because somebody can manipulate you. You said it. I've seen it.
Yeah. I can lie. I can falsify things for quite a while, but it takes eventually, if I'm listening, if I'm paying attention, right, then the truth is going to come out. And the issue is the truth is not always comfortable. The truth is not always pretty. The truth can be downright ugly. But at least if I know the truth, then I get to make the decision. I get to make the choices. But if I jump in too quickly before I know the whole truth, then I'm making decisions based upon a lot of assumptions. And we say it all the time. Assumptions are the worst thing you can have in a relationship, is building plans and future based upon assumptions. That's dangerous.
Let me go through maybe a military example of what you're talking about.
Okay.
We train and train and train. I went
Yes.
through every firefighting school the Navy had.
Okay.
Okay. Facing a shipboard fire
Mhm.
is probably one of the most horrible, unpleasant, terrible things.
Yes.
The Oriskany fire killed 46. The Forstall fire killed 164.
Mm.
And to be in a shipboard fire, your natural inclination is get the heck out
Right.
of here. You
Exactly.
know, this is bad news. I don't
Right.
want any part of that. Life is full of bad news.
Yes.
Life is full of trials and tribulations. And yet I trained and I trained and I trained and I trained so that if something went wrong,
Mhm.
I could grab that nozzle. I could do what I had to do. And I didn't think about it. I did what I had to do, which was the right thing to do.
Right.
Because if your happy home catches on fire, it's see, it ain't
Mhm.
fun.
Right.
By the same token, think about life. How many times in a marriage does the happy home turn into a fire?
Exactly.
And
what
if you don't
happens?
have the tools
Right.
to be able, so you can have people that are of different backgrounds, you can have people of different cultures, you can have people of different attitudes, but if you don't have the tools, how are you going to fight the fire? Because
And-
then somebody loses.
Right. And what are you going to do when, not if, when the fire starts?
Right.
And most people, because we live in a culture, a get out culture. Most people come in with a get out clause, with a get out mindset already planned. So if it's not perfect, then I'll just leave and I'll go start another one. But we train you. Wait a minute. Commitment means that first of all, we understand that there's euphoria, there's reality, there's pessimism. Those are the three, what we call the three areas of a relationship, right? Euphoria is that time when you first meet and you're on the phone
And you're cute.
you cute.
And you're really cute.
Wait, we got to get off the phone. You hang up.
No, you ain't.
Hey,
No,
hey,
you
wait,
hang
wait,
up.
wait.
And that's the euphoria, right? And
Right.
then reality comes in when I start to learn things, when you got bills and you got bad credit and you got bad kids and you have, 2 wives, and I start to learn. So the euphoria wears off and now we're in the reality. So now how do we deal with reality? That's the truth of it.
Mhm.
And then, but the problem is if we haven't learned how to handle the reality, how to handle conflict, how to handle those fires, then what? We go instantly into pessimism and everything is negative. So what? Let's get out. And if you're committed to this relationship, then let's learn some skills and some tools as to how to handle the fire when it happens, as opposed to running out of the house and leaving everybody else there to burn.
Well, Cedric and Michelle, what I relate this to is a contractual agreement, a contractual marriage versus a commitment, a covenant marriage.
Covenant, yes.
Covenant.
Because
yes.
I have been in real estate, good grief, all my life, literally,
Mhm.
because my dad was in this business. And with a contract, you've got a beginning, you've got things you got to do, and you got an end.
Right.
But throughout, there are provisions by which you
can
can
get out.
get out.
Yes.
And if you don't do such and such, so in a contractual deal, if you and I have a contract,
Mhm.
I got to perform,
Right.
you got to perform.
Right.
But if we don't perform,
It's over.
It's
it
over.
can be.
Right.
Most of the time it is. And it's a bloodbath.
Mm-hmm.
It never seems to work out.
Right.
Hey, let's just end this.
Mhm.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
So what you're talking about, though, is learning these tools and learning the things up front.
Right.
Because quite
Yeah.
frankly, Cedric, I was married 3 times before Diane. And I think Diane and I both have agreed, had we taken the time to know
Mm.
the other people,
Right.
we'd never gone down that road.
Right.
And we got to know each other,
Mhm.
which was an amazing thing. And we talked and we talked. And one of the things is, and I'm just going to be real blunt, we stayed out of bed.
Great.
We did not
Great.
go down that road.
Yes.
Because then we were talking and we were learning and we were growing.
Right.
And I got to tell you, the other times in my life, that had been the instant glue. It
Right.
happened
Right.
Yeah.
sometimes on the first date,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, and in my generation, sex, drugs, and rock and roll of the
Yeah.
60s,
Right.
if you met a pretty girl and you didn't woo her into bed, and you know, they'd say, well, what's wrong with you? Are you gay?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
everybody was doing it.
Right.
Everybody, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And we were making horrible mistakes along
Jim,
the way.
I wish I could say that has gone away. It's actually only exacerbated today.
Oh, wow.
Much younger in the schools. And so we're trying to work with even young people to get them first, to get them to know their value. We have 70-year-olds who don't know their value. Right. And then you have the 7-year-old. And it's like, if you understand your value, then you don't readily give of yourself. And because you say that if I don't do this, then something's wrong with me. It doesn't matter because I know who I am.
Right.
I know my worth. But when I don't know my worth, I don't understand my value, I'm allowing somebody else to explain or to tell me what my value is and what's important, then I'm in trouble. And the bad part is, again, that's not just young people. That is literally middle-aged, seniors, geriatrics, still having that problem today.
Cedric, one of the things I've read the book of James about a dozen times
Mm-hmm.
because my name is James. No, because I needed to learn. I'm
Right.
working on a Bible study that I want to do from the book of Proverbs,
Okay.
where I'm relating aviation.
Yes.
But I will tell you, James talks about repeatedly the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about the tongue, you're really talking about the words out of your mouth.
Right.
And boy, let me tell you, the words out of your mouth can be deadly.
Yes.
They can be explosive.
Yes. Yes.
They can really, really hurt.
Yeah. We have a saying, you can't unshoot a bullet. Once it's out there, it's going to do damage. It's going to hit something.
You're going to hit something.
And quite often the words that come out of you can apologize, but the damage is done. And there are some things that are said that are never forgotten. I guarantee you, and we do this exercise in the class. I said, go back to your elementary school years and think about a teacher, a student, or a sibling that said something to you that still today you remember. It affects you. Right. A lot of things happen that way. I just brought a message the other day talking about the duality of the things that God gave you. Right. He gave you 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 nose, but 2 nostrils. And he gave you 2 lips, 1 mouth, but 2 lips. And I say the lips are the control point, the jail keeper of the mouth. If you can get your lips to help you keep your mouth closed, it'll save you a lot of pain in life. It'll save other people a lot of pains. If you can, I tell them, think with your lips. Don't think with your lips. But a lot of times people will not give thought to what they're getting ready to say and what the damage that it can do once it's out.
It's an emotional time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's the same thing about firefighting. If I
Right.
walk into the firefight with equipment that doesn't work,
Mm-hmm.
chances are not only am I not going to put out the fire, but I may get killed.
hit, yeah.
And then I'm going to
And
kill
others.
a bunch of other people.
Exactly.
This is a fascinating conversation. I want to come to one of your workshops. Again, we're going to want to come back and tell people where to go to get signed up for Healing Thine Hearts Ministries. Healing Thine Hearts Ministries. And I got to tell you, you need to give out a phone number. What is your phone number for your business?
972-833-4344. 972-833-4344.
We're talking with Michelle and Cedric White, ministers of the gospel, but I got to tell you, ministers of learning that we all need in terms of communication and relationships. You want to know more? Go to Healing Thine Ministries.
Healing Thine Hearts.
Healing Thine Hearts. I'm sorry. I'm just so caught up. Hey, this is Veterans Impact. We're going to be right back to wrap this up. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. And thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this
Oh,
great
good.
conversation.
And they're all coming.
I got to tell you, Cedric, we're having too much fun. We need to do this more often.
Would love to.
But one of the things that I think is so terribly important is you're talking about healing the heart,
Yes.
healing the
That's it.
mind.
Yes.
And the most important thing that we have in terms of relationships, which is the family.
Yes.
You're not just talking about marriage, you're talking about the children as well.
Yes.
And you mentioned blended families.
Mhm.
Diane and I are a blended family.
Right.
Now, our kids are grown and gone.
Mhm.
But let me tell you, Diane has been so helpful because she's been through Celebrate Recovery.
Yes.
She's been through a number of things to try and help her. And I've learned, and communication is so key.
Yes.
And my boys think the world of her.
Mhm.
I don't know what her kids think of me, but I'm trying to improve the situation. You know, that old sailor, mom married a sailor. Oh my God. I got to tell you, I want people to know we're going to be repeating this again. Healing Thine Heart Ministries. And you've got the website for that is
Well, www.healingthinehearts.org or just hearts.org.
okay. And this is important. You've got some workshops coming up.
Yes.
Michelle,
I'll let
you were
Michelle
you were
about
going to talk about that.
Most definitely. We have what is called a life core therapy certification that people who have a heart to help other individuals. That class is coming up on August the 29th through September the 1st. You can register on our website at healingthinehearts.org. And it can be hybrid as well. So you can be in person or online. And it's the beautiful thing about it, it's very interactive. You can be online and still feel like you're in the room.
Yes.
We've been doing this training for over 13 years
Yes.
and certifying people who have a heart to help people, but we're doing it the right way. And we mentor them as well after that process. We also have a CEU coming up on September the 20th, 27th, and the 4th of October. So it's every Wednesday evening at 6:30. And that information is also on our website. And that class is about dysfunctional families and soul ties.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's
a good one.
It's a real good one. We have actually we had so many people registered for it the first time, and we had to cut off the registration. So we decided to do it again. The soul ties and dysfunctional family on the starting on the 20th of September. So all that information is on our website, and we're just excited that the Lord is really putting us in a position to work with some of the events. And we also are part of have a conference coming up. And Cedric and I are speaking. It's called the International Christian Coaching Institute, where we met you and your beautiful bride on October the 19th through the 21st.
And then check our website. We'll have some other classes specifically veteran related. We do veteran retreats and things like that.
Yes.
Check our website for those days.
We want to do that. We're going to participate. And one of the things is I became an ordained chaplain with the International Fellowship of Chaplains to gain access to a lot of the material that they've got about seniors.
Yes.
I want to get your material and understand it because in my work, in working with seniors as a certified senior advisor, I'm running more and more into silver divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running more and more also
My goodness.
into the situation where one spouse passes away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm called in by banks, I'm called in by financial institutions to be able to do financial counseling.
Right.
I do the reverse mortgage lending and all of that. But golly, I got to tell you, if you don't know where to put out the fire or
Yes.
use the right tools,
Yeah.
it doesn't help.
Right.
And you can help somebody financially and put a noose around their neck if they don't know how to use these tools. So I am trying to learn more, and I'm going to be signing up. And I think this is critically important. Also, I'm a Military Peer Network and been involved with that. And I'm very good friends with the people that are doing the used to be called 22 Kill. It's now One Tribe. And I know one of the biggest initiatives of the VA and of these organizations is suicide prevention.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you guys, I've been through situations in my past life and marriage that I was about ready to You know, I
Been
sat
there.
there and looked at a rifle one
Yes.
time and go, wait a minute, I can't do
Yes.
this. And I got to tell you, this is so important.
Yes.
This is a key to working with the family,
Mhm.
working with the children, working with yourself.
Right.
And I said to somebody one time about their mother, I said, your mother is ill. She needs help,
Mhm.
something fierce.
Right.
If she had typhoid, if she had tuberculosis, if she had cancer, you know
You'd
what
get
to
her
do.
help.
But we've got mental health problems, and that's a
Yes.
huge
Yes.
thing.
You said something a moment ago that really causes us to keep going, and that is the fact that we see what our decisions did to 3 generations.
Yes.
Mhm.
For us, for our children, and our
And our
grandchildren.
grandchildren.
We see every day how it affects them. And so what we tell people is, listen, take our mistakes, take our blunders, take our harm, and use it as your experience, use it as your wisdom. You don't have to do what we did. Let us help you.
Yeah.
Cedric, our children learn by not what we say,
By what we do.
but what we do.
Yes.
Well, I got to bring this to an end. We're about to pull this ship back into the dock. And I just want to say thank you so much.
It's been a
Again,
blast.
go to Healing Thine Heart Ministries. And this is a great place. I'm signing up for some of this. We're going to be doing it because I want to help more people and I want to be better prepared.
Yes.
Well, Cedric, I close every program with a prayer. And so I'd like for you guys to join with me
Yes.
on my prayer today. Lord God of the universe,
Thank you, Father.
God of our hearts and God of light and love, we come to you in thankful adoration and say, thank you. Thank you for our active duty military. And thank you for putting ramparts around them to protect them and to keep them safe. And thank you for our first responders who
Yes.
run into the fire instead of run away from it. And thank you for our veterans for helping us and leading us, and men like Cedric and his wonderful wife, Michelle. She is a veteran herself, having been married now to 2 veterans and understands it. So God, help our veterans to pull this nation back together. Bring us back together, one nation, under God,
Yes.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This we pray in your holy name. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Guys, what a great day we've had. We're gonna get this out there. I think more people need to know about it.
Well, thank you
It
for
is
having
a
us.
tremendous opportunity. And let's bring you guys back again. Veterans Impact Show, we're here for you. Subscribe, join us, be a part of it. Help us get the word out there to help veterans.